All right, guys, let's learn a little bit about transcendentalism today. It's a long word. Sometimes it takes me a couple of tries to spell it, but do not be intimidated. So what does it mean? So think about that word, the root word here, transcend or transcend. So there is there's this ideal spiritual state which transcends or rises above the physical and the empirical. A loose connection of eclectic ideas about literature, philosophy, religion, social reform, and the general state of American culture. Transcendentalism had different meanings for each person involved in the movement. So we're going to talk about generally what it meant, but it could mean something different to the different people involved. So who we really think of when we think about transcendentalism is Ralph Waldo Emerson. So he gave the German philosopher Immanuel Kant credit for popularizing this term transcendentalism, and it began as a reform movement in the Unitarian Church. It itself is not a religion, but more accurately, it's a philosophy or a form of spirituality. So it's not like going to church on Sunday. And it's centered around Boston and Concord, Massachusetts in the mid-1800s. So Emerson first expressed this philosophy of transcendentalism in his essay, Nature. So what did they believe? Well, the intuitive faculty they really believed in the intuitive faculty instead of the rational or the sensical. All right. This became the means for a conscious union of the individual psyche. And then the word psyche, also known as the oversoul or life force or prime mover, so all these different things, but really it was all about inside, what was inside. So the basic premises, so an individual is the center of the spiritual center of the universe, and in an individual can be found the clue to nature, history, and ultimately cosmos and life itself. So it's not the rejection of the existence of God, but a preference to explain an individual and the world in terms of an individual. So the structure of the universe literally duplicates the structure of the individual itself. All knowledge, therefore, begins with self-knowledge. You cannot be a transcendentalist if you do not know yourself. All right? Transcendentalists also accepted the concept of nature as a living mystery full of signs. They saw nature as symbolic. It was very important. Also, the belief that individual virtue and happiness depends upon self-realization. You see here, there's a theme, individual, self. All right, this depends upon the reconciliation or coming together of two universal psychological tendencies. The desire, first of all, to embrace the whole world, to know and become one with the world, and then the desire to withdraw and remain unique and separate, an egotistical existence. So they felt like the individual was more powerful alone than in a group, that you could know yourself better, make better decisions, figure things out better alone than going along with a group. So, major transcendentalists that we know of, Ralph Waldo Emerson, we're going to talk about Henry David Thoreau, we're going to talk about, we also have Amos Bronson Alcott, Margaret Fuller, and Ellery Channing. So we're going to talk a little more about Emerson, but he is definitely who we think of first when we think about transcendentalism. He founded the Transcendental Club. He was a lecturer. He was banned from Harvard for 40 years because he gave an address at their divinity school, which is like religious school, and they didn't like it. And he supported abolitionism, which is, the freeing of the slaves. Then we're going to talk about Henry David Thoreau as well. He was a school teacher. He was famous for Walden and civil disobedience. We're going to look at both of those. He was a very influential to the environmental movement and also supported abolitionism. Then we have Amos Bronson Alcott, we have Margaret Fuller, and Ellery Channing. So these are all some of the major players, but like I said, we're really just going to be focusing on Thoreau and Emerson. So if you want to know a little bit more, you can check out the American Transcendental Web, American Transcendentalism, and this PAL Chapter 4.